Welcome to hell.
Hello and welcome to the Jersey Shore Musicians Podcast. I'm Matt. Jeff's not fucking here, so I'm doing this shit by myself. Tonight, we got the guys from Someday You'll Know Us, Rob and Jack. Welcome, boys.
How's it going? Thanks for having us.
Not a problem. How we doing tonight?
We are doing. That is about the level we're going to be at.
That's awesome. Do you have any trouble finding the place? You got here all right?
No, not really. We got here pretty early, actually.
Good. So we like to lead everything off and start with, how did you guys get into music and how did you end up all becoming, coming together to make the band Someday You'll Know Us?
That's a story of most of my life.
Same for me.
So my parents put me into basically daycare, but with music at 18 months old. And so they would just sit you down in front of a tiny little xylophone, and they're just like, bang on it. And you eventually learn your notes and all that fun shit. And so I've just been, and I took music lessons immediately after that, from piano to saxophone to guitar to whatever else I felt like doing, as well as singing. And then I never stopped.
That's awesome.
So now, and then eventually I bumped into him in a bar, and he's like, hey, I need a guitarist for a band. And I'm like, I'm busy right now, but maybe in a couple months.
It's actually true. He stole me from a different band. With me, though, music started around when I was 5 years old. My parents got me a little acoustic guitar for Christmas, which they then promptly took away because I didn't know what I was doing, and it got annoying real quick.
Yeah, I imagine.
Did not stop me from sneaking into their closet and taking it back every other day.
That's great. And you've been playing ever since.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Any other guys you've been in the past? Any projects that you want to bring up?
I used to be originally the bassist and then rhythm guitarist of a band called The Years We've Sinned, which was also known as Uncharted Waters in the early days. But that was back in 2012, 2013.
Meanwhile, for me, this is the first rock band project that's actually taken off the ground, but I've been in multiple different bands for jazz orchestras or jazz bands or what was the other thing that I was in? Basically the studio I was at was like, hey, we're gonna have all the kids taking lessons put on a show, do you want it? And I was like, sure, fuck it. And they're like, cool, what are you gonna play? Whose songs are you gonna play? And I'm like, can I play mine? And they're like, yeah, do it. So that was me doing my own music for the first time at 15. And
That's
I was
awesome. Yeah, I went to a place called Rock House. They used to do that. He used to make every year, the kids would they'd all make a CD together, and all the groups of kids on every track, and then you'd have the CD release party, and it would be a big thing when cover bands playing, and then throughout the day all the kids get up and playing different songs, and yeah, it's cool. It helps build you up a little,
Yeah, it's funny because the place I went to was up in Belmar, and they eventually were like, oh yeah, because when I was doing it, we were just renting out the local firehouse, and eventually he got in on good terms with the guy at the Stone Pony, and that guy was like, sure, bring your kids here and do a show during the day when no one's here, that's fine.
Yeah.
So now a bunch of kids get to play the Stone Pony once a year, and they lose their minds over it.
That's great, yeah. That's awesome. That's the best way to build them up, give them confidence, and then when they go to try to be in a band, they have a little. They're not gonna go in there thinking they're gonna fail. They got they got a little behind them. It's good.
Which is good, but there's also just, for me, the worry of the inverse of, they think they know what they're doing, and they don't.
Everybody falls on their face, man.
Oh, yeah.
It happens. There's no avoiding it.
There just isn't. Yeah, for actual instrument training, I've been playing in one solid instrument for 22 years now, and like I've been in the music business. I've talked to literal legends back in the day. Like in my college days, I talked to some of the people who came and gave us extra classes and stuff. And I'm like, oh, this is not what I thought this was at all. And then, I see kids being like, oh, we just got to put something on the internet. And I'm like, oh, you got to work harder than that.
No, it's everything that's wrong with today with music. But, all right, so back to the topic at hand. Someday you'll know us.
Yes.
Give us a little history on the band, how you got to the point you're at now.
So it started with me and our current bassist Tom, and Tom and our past drummer got together and were like, "Hey, let's start a band. We want to do a band." So they were like, "Okay, we need guitarists and vocals because we have drums and bass." And so they called up my friend, who then and they were like, "Hey, do you know any guitarists?" And she was like, "Yeah, here's this guy," and it was me. And I came in. So, we played for a while, started playing live shows and stuff, and eventually brought in Rob, because I was like, "Yeah, we need a rhythm guitarist," because I'm trying to do leads and rhythms at the same time, and I can't.
Yeah.
We need the extra sound. So I convinced them to bring in Rob, and so then from there, Rob was like, "All right, I'm gonna bring my musical style into this," and then it changed from like punk, like pop punk type things, very upbeat, happy type stuff, to all right, now let's write some heavier things.
Yeah.
And then
that's what it is. It's a melting pot of everybody.
Yeah. And then from there, we lost a few people, gained a few people. Drummer eventually found a different project. Singer eventually found a different project. And the main thing that we had always said for us as a band that the three of us had agreed on was, look, whoever's the best at doing the thing does that thing. Like, It doesn't hurt feelings. If someone's better at leads, they record the leads or whatever. They do what is best. And at the time, we were doing stuff where you needed, a high, clean singing voice. And that was what I fit best at. And I'm like, damn it, I want to keep playing guitar. And they were just like, no. No. So we ended up bringing in Justin, our drummer, Eliel, our guitarist, and then the most recent change we made was we swapped Rob to pure vocalist, screaming vocalist, and our newest guitarist, Austin, who will start this year off at this, first show for the year by, it's his first show with us.
Yeah.
So he's
It's our little testing grounds with him.
Yeah.
See how he handles the live stuff. Because
got to put him through the paces. Not everybody works out. It seems good at first, but you never know.
Yeah.
Something Jack forgot to mention was half of our band is comprised of old members from my last band that I was in. The one that he stole me from.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't going to mention my thievery. Come on. That's how you get away with it.
Originally, I came in as a temporary fill-in while they looked for a full-time rhythm guitarist. And I built up a bond with the rest of the band to the point where they asked me to stay. Around the same time I had moved away from where I was with the other band, like physically moved to another town.
Yeah.
Couldn't really make it to their practices as often. We weren't really doing much at the time, so I made it full-time with this band. And over time, I eventually brought in old members of that band.
Which is how we got our drummer and new guitarist. And now it's just like, all right, full half of the band is like just like, people we've added in, and the other full half of the band is his old project. And I'm just like,
yeah, you always end up going with people you know.
Oh yeah,
because it helps. It's not so awkward in the beginning. You're a little more comfortable with them. That chemistry's already started.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it also just helps that like the people from his old band are some highly talented musicians, and I was like, yeah, I have no problem bringing them in.
That helps too. Yeah.
Yeah.
That definitely helps.
Otherwise, I would just be like, I know you know them, but if they're not that good, I don't want them here.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have recommended them if I didn't think they would fit.
Which is fair.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. All right. Well, you guys just recently dropped a new album called Coping Method. Why don't you talk a little about the recording process, how that all went, where'd you record it?
So we ended up recording with an old friend of our bassists, an old neighbor of our bassists, because they used to live in the same neighborhood, and he's also part of the band Vex's. And he records all of Vex's albums for them, and so he started opening up his own studio just above his garage, recording anyone who's willing to pay him to update his studio. He specifically told us, all right, here's what I'm buying with your guys' money. I'm buying a new one of these and a better one of these and another one of those. We were just like, cool.
Yeah. And that's one way to look at it.
We had a good time working with him. He was super helpful in producing it and like helping us get through the process.
Yeah.
Because for a lot of us, that was our first experience recording. For some of us, we had done this before.
Yeah.
But it was a fun process.
How long did it take to track it out?
Not nearly as long as we thought, to be completely honest. We tracked all the drums in a day, which we were just like, well, okay then.
Was it an EP or an album?
An EP, yeah. It was just the 5 songs.
All right,
but oh man, it took us
probably no longer than a day per set of instruments. Drums were a day. All the guitars were done in a day. Bass was a day on its own, and then you and I took a day for vocals.
Yeah, pretty much.
So like 4 days.
That's not bad at all, no.
Yeah, and he was very good with scheduling. He was like, all right, does this day work with you guys? And we'd be like,
now was that all recorded pre-COVID or during COVID?
During COVID.
During COVID, all right.
Yeah, which he was like, it was his own house and stuff. So he was like, you guys take whatever COVID precautions you need. I don't blame you. It's fine. But at the same time, I live here. I'm not going to wear a mask right now because if you guys tell me that you've, either been tested or you're being safe, I'll trust you with that. Mm-hmm. So, things went very smoothly, to be completely honest. And there were certain parts where he was like, he didn't even tell us, but he would add certain parts to the track, and then he would send it to us and be like, hey, I just sort of tweaked the sound here, and I added like some background notes here. What do you think? And we were just like, heck yeah, absolutely. Like he did nothing wrong, and we were just like, holy crap, we sounded so good.
Yeah.
And
it's a good feeling, yeah.
Yeah, and we had tried to record with someone else before in bits and pieces, and just it didn't end up coming out the way we had wanted, so we ended up going with him, seeing like, all right, let's see how it sounds. And then he came back sounding like that, and we were like, yeah.
See, that's why I love recording with Jeff. Mm-hmm. He is one of those guys, he'll stop you mid-track and just be like, do it again. That sucked. Yeah. He is not afraid to tell you exactly what he thinks. And that's what you need with the guy behind the board. If something doesn't sound right, don't be like, oh yeah, that sounds great, guys. You guys, if you think it sounds like crap, tell him it sounds like crap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's where we get into this conversation of the new age of music and how anybody with a laptop can record an album if they really wanted to. And guys like him, he can tell you just by listening to it if it was recorded on a laptop or if it was recorded in a studio. Mm-hmm. And it takes a lot of like the heart out of it, I guess you could say.
Yeah, to a large degree. And it's one of those things, like, I really appreciate when you get a studio tech like that, because we've had other studio techs who are just like, yeah, we're just here to record whatever you do. Like,
they're just collecting a paycheck.
They just collect the paycheck, and like they'll listen to it, but they'll just be like, yeah, this is what you guys recorded. Whereas he was like, he did say, I have no problem telling you guys you suck. Yeah. Like, I'll tell you if something needs to be redone immediately, but that only happened maybe twice, I think, in the entire time. We were kind of harder on ourselves than he was, because
that's always how it is.
Oh, yeah. Like, a fun thing about our drummer is that if he's going on a riff, he'll just go...
Like, and he'll stop himself when he fucks up, scream, and then go back to doing it.
In the same beat, like he'll scream in tempo, and it's the most hilarious thing for me.
Everybody's got their little quirks, but I still firmly believe the drummers are the worst.
Oh yeah,
they're the worst. They're worse than singers. They really are.
Excuse.
I didn't say a word.
Mm-hmm. I didn't. You said nothing.
No, I have a history with drummers, so we'll just leave it at that.
Let me just say, with the him accusing me of saying something, I'm pretty sure the video feed skipped at that point for a second.
Man, I could edit it out, or I could leave it in. All right, so the other thing we like to do, we ask all the bands that we bring in here. We don't always bring in bands, by the way. I don't know if you know that. We do. We've had guitar techs. Jeff not only does it run the studio, but he's also an amp tech. And we brought in from. You guys have played Dingbats, right? You know Michelle Messina?
Yes.
Little Short Michelle books all the shows.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. She was in here last week. She's one of my really good friends. Really good friends. We've known each other since we were kids. But
it's awesome. We're actually playing there in a few days.
Oh, tell her to smack you.
Yeah.
Nah, she's. I love her. She's great. But we try to get in. What's your best show and what's your worst show ever? We'll start with the worst because they're always the best. What is the worst show you've ever played? Doesn't necessarily even have to be with the band that you're in right now. But what is the worst show you've ever played?
I don't have to think about that.
There are a couple options because there are shows that have been bad because of the amount of people that didn't show up, which,
well, that's almost every show.
Yeah. Well, I feel like if you haven't played to an audience of 3 people and you know 2 of them, you haven't built character as a band. Oh. But at the same time, there are other shows where it's like, the vibe was just off the whole time. Someone said something wrong. Equipment failed. I broke something. Who knows? But there's those catastrophic shows. But for me, I think my worst show would actually end up being not even that early on in my career, but like mid-college, where we played, I think at the Strand. Like the jazz, we were just playing to like 70 people at the Strand, and it was a good time. And all of a sudden, I just couldn't hear my guitar anymore. And I'm like, well, I'm mid-solo. I can't stop now. And like, I felt like it was one of my best solos, and no one heard it. And I was so angry at it, and it just affected my performance for the rest of the night. I was just like,
I'd definitely put you down. Yeah.
Down for the rest of the night. I was like, man, yeah, I'm doing good, but this part got missed. But I'd say that would be my worst show, probably.
And for you?
I think for me it was definitely that show we played in Cape May that I'm certain was put on by a cult. I'm 100% sure it was a cult because I don't know a single person who puts black peppercorn in chocolate chip cookies on top of the other things that happened.
That's just weird.
There was a lot wrong with that.
The main thing that sold it was when our bassist showed up, having not had any contact with anyone but the drummer. And he even walked up and said, "Is anyone getting cult vibes?" That sealed it. I knew it.
And they blamed me for being indoctrinated by the cult forever. And then we figured out recently that no, it was not me. It was the drummer who booked the show in the first place.
There you go. It's always the drummer. I told you. It's always the drummer.
You're not.
This is why I bully.
I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong.
You're not.
This is why I bully ours.
Yep. All right. Well, then we talked about COVID before. how did COVID affect your band?
See, I would say it actually was kind of a good thing for us. Not in like terms of, oh, you know, this deadly disease is going around. This is good fodder for songs. No. But like it gave us a break because we had been playing shows pretty consistently at that point where we weren't getting much of a break, and we were like, we really want to try and record our stuff eventually.
We were burning out.
Yeah, we just didn't have the
absolutely.
time. And so it gave us the time to back off and be like, all right, let's sit down, get a studio, and just get at least 5 songs out. And then that was our goal. We hit it, and honestly, it's helped us a lot more than just playing the shows ever did.
It also gave us a chance to bring in and get Austin acclimated to us. So we've had a chance to work with him, learn his play style, his writing style, see his strengths and weaknesses, and play to him.
Yeah.
As well as let him get used to us and be like,
You got
all
to
right.
gel.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but you know, it's been generally a good thing for us, and we got a chance to like slow down, reset, and be like, okay, now let's just take off and do what we can.
Yeah. Because we talk about, you know, how many people do you think really took the time from that, you know, everybody got from COVID and really, you know, honed in on their craft, you know, because now that things are opening back up, there were so many people for the longest time, they were releasing one song here, one song there, or, you know, nobody was releasing anything because they didn't want to release it if they couldn't play to support it. So now that everything's opening back up and the bands are hitting the road again, there's going to be a flurry of shit getting thrown out everywhere. And there's going to be a lot of good music, and there's going to be a lot of really bad music.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, people that are still, because we were talking with our friend Eric, who's he's the guitar player guy at Russo's in Asbury. He was telling us that Fender Guitars had their best calendar year of sales in 2020 in the history of their company.
That's insane.
Because everybody was sitting at home and everybody bought a guitar.
Yeah.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. In all honesty, like, I might actually know Eric because I frequent Russo's up in Asbury. Yeah. It is where I bought my guitar, and it is where I go to take all of my guitars to get any work done on them or tune-ups.
Yeah, he was
or
on our
anything.
3rd episode, and he guest hosted last week covering for Jeff because obviously the fucking guy's not here, leaving me hanging by myself. Motherfucker.
Yeah, it's funny because one of my friends from high school who, like, we all knew he was going to do something with guitars because the kid's just a legend, basically. He was insane on guitar back in high school. Before I even graduated, I was like, he's either going to be in a band or something's going to happen with this kid. And he ended up getting a job at Russo's with, you know, Eric and them, and just loves it there.
Yeah, Eric's a good dude, yeah. He also owns Luther Lee Pickups, makes his own pickups and everything. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, guy's all over it. All over it. So, as we've been starting to see, you know, the Brighton fell today. Was it Roxy and Dukes up in North Jersey? They announced that they're closing.
Oh, really? I didn't hear that one, yeah.
Yeah, that today.
Dang.
Yeah, so it's, what do you guys think? What clubs are going to bounce back? What clubs, you know, like, there's going to be a lot of clubs that don't come back.
Yeah.
What do you think that the music scene around here is even going to be from here on out? Are you just going to have your pay to play, you know, Stone Pony, House of Independence, or you got to guarantee 50 to 60 people through the door if you even want to touch the stage. And then you're going to have hordes and hordes of bands lining up for it because there's nowhere else to play because all the little places are board up.
Yeah, I'm hoping that a lot of the little places will either get picked up by someone new and they'll start their own little thing going on there. Because eventually I want to start trying to do that and putting on shows, like showing what the local scene can do.
Well, that's I've seen there's a big resurgence right now of DIY, VFW halls, you know, outdoor parks.
Yeah.
My band played 2 over the last like 6 months at Hebrew Park in Lacey. for my buddy Jay and Stomp Out Animal Abuse, big charity things we did.
Nice.
Yeah, it was good times. And now they're doing it in Bamber at the VFW hall out there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, the internet helped get a lot of music out there. Not all great music, obviously, but it's helped a lot.
See, I would say it did for a while, and now it's more if you're not fit for that algorithm, you don't get seen at all.
To a degree, yeah, for
you
sure.
know? And then we even get into like, you guys are on Spotify? No?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You get what 0.7 of a penny for every stream you have or something like that.
Something like
0.4 of a penny, some shit like that.
That's a real low amount.
Oh yeah, you could you could sell your 1,000 songs and it's nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's actually one of the things that because I was handling the distribution for our EP for the most part, was like, all right, what's the best company to go with for distributing music and stuff like that, and it all just kind of, part of it was like, all right, how much do we think we're going to be producing music? Because part of it was, all right, you have to think about how much you're going to produce music every year, and how much each service costs for this, that, and the other thing. And we ended up going with one that distributed us to Spotify and YouTube and all these other places.
Apple Music, Amazon Music.
Yeah, and it was like cool. And they deal with all of the legalities of stuff for us, but we do pay them like once a year, but they let us keep all of our revenue. So we're like, cool, we're really glad about that. But, even then, like, the bits and pieces that come back, unless you get, like, specific stuff, like we had to pay a little extra to get money back from YouTube in case, someone decides, hey, I like this song, let's put it in the back of our workout video. Like, we would get paid for that.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, we just got to keep, like, you have to either put out such a large volume of music that it starts making money on its own and those pennies add up, or you just have to not care about the pennies and just keep making whatever you want.
As I said to you guys before we started this, you know how you make money in music?
You don't.
You don't. We talked about it last week, I think. It was the best way to make money with music right now, at least, is trying to do it for TV or movies or something like that. Because you'll make more money doing this, like, a 10-second little clip on a commercial than you will selling trying to sell your songs on Spotify or Apple Music. Or
Well, a good part of that is, like, those are, like, guaranteed to play more.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, they pay a butt ton just to put it on air a bajillion times, which everyone hates. But at the same time, like, for the amount that we've put out, for just the 5 songs that we put out, we've gotten a surprising amount of people who are just like, I'm about this, I'm gonna listen to it a bajillion times. We got very lucky with our first couple of songs where they're just, people are like, absolutely, let's listen to more of this, let's see what these guys are about.
Awesome. That's great. And all right, well, you guys got any shows lined up?
September 10th is our biggest show to date.
Yeah, we've got the Blue Ridge Rock Festival down in Virginia, which, for anyone who doesn't know, it's another one of the, you pay for your slot to play, but at the same time, the amount of bands and the level of bands that are at that show make the exposure alone worth it. Like, because we announced that we're playing in that show, and suddenly we've got 10 times more listeners than we've ever had. We have, streams and views of stuff coming in constantly, and it's just been to a point where we're like, this is more than we were anticipating. How did we do this? What did we do right? Can we do it again?
Alone announcing that show was a huge boon for us. Like within, I'd say 2 days, we had doubled our monthly listeners.
That's great.
Yeah. So, because some of the other people on that are big names like Megadeth, Anthrax. We've got Limp Bizkit on the day that we play.
Yeah, Rob Zombie.
Rob Zombie got announced, and suddenly everyone's like, "Oh my god!"
It's one of the big outdoor festivals, bunch of stages, right?
Yeah. And so we got very lucky to be like invited to pay for a slot for that because we were like, because this offer came in like August of last year ish.
Somewhere around that.
It's like fall of last year. And we thought about it for a while. And then eventually we were just like, we really ought to. So, we pooled together the money for it and paid for it and then waited for months and months.
And you couldn't tell anybody.
Because they were like, yeah, you can't announce that you're playing until we announce that you're playing.
That's how it works, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so we ended up saying, all right, we'll wait. And we've just been sitting on it for so long, and we wanted to tell everybody.
And then last month when they finally said, all right, it's your turn, everything changed for us. Everything started falling into place to get further and further with what we're doing. In fact, right now, our drummer is tracking a few new songs. He was actually supposed to be here with me tonight, but had to go to the studio.
That's awesome. I'm happy for you guys. That's great. That's like you could pinpoint that spot where like this is where it made that turn.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And it's one of those things where like there's a difference between like I've met Bernard Purry, and I got to play one song with him in private in a back room at a college. And it was a great experience. It was awesome. The guy is a living legend who played with Aretha Franklin. Like, insane.
Yeah.
But it's very different from, playing in a back room at a college with him to being able to say, all right, here is music that we wrote, that I helped write, and we're presenting it in front of thousands of people at this show with some of the biggest current names in the business.
Mm-hmm.
And not even like trying to just wrap my head around it. It's just like, wow. So it's a palpable difference between the two. It's like one is like a personal high, and the other is, all right, this is like a professional and personal high at the same time. So it's very...
And not to mention, when it's your music, you're so much more invested in it. That's your passion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That is one of the things about like being a jazz and blues musician that I was always like... I was happy with it because I was like, yeah, I'm playing solos off the top of my head. They're mine. This is what I'm capable of doing. But they were always other people's songs. And then we're doing this, and I'm like, I've written the words to this. I helped write the guitars to this. I've been around for every part of the process in making this. And it's more like, all right, this is not just my thing. This is me. As like, this is what I like. We've all agreed to it. We all did this.
Yeah, because I can relate. Because I was a bass player for the longest time, and then the band that I've been now for about 10 years, I started singing. And there's nothing better than when you're up on stage and you're singing, and you look down and you just see someone, like eyes closed and just feeling it, and you're like, mm-hmm. I fucking did that. Mm-hmm. That's
absolutely.
Me.
In all honesty, because you had asked before about worst and best shows. For me, the show that really made it like click for me, that I was like hyped on for life, is we were playing down at Reverb in Pennsylvania, and it's not a complicated song. it's just a fun anthem-y type of song where you can get the crowd chanting with you. But I was like, we were the first band on for the night. We were one of the smaller bands on for the night. We had started playing like a year beforehand. And so we were like, all right, let's just do what we can do and see what kind of reaction we get back. And I asked the crowd to chant with me, thinking maybe a person would do it, possibly, who knew us.
Yeah.
And then I look into the crowd, and there's a decent crowd of people chanting the words that I had asked for them back. And I was like, oh, shit, I did this.
Yeah.
I asked for this, and I just immediately was like, there was no doubt in my mind of, cool, this is everything now. It's getting back to this that I'm trying to get to.
It's a moment of, hey, do the thing. And then they do the thing. And you're like, I didn't think I'd get this far.
Yeah. I know.
I didn't have a plan for after this, so now I need to figure some things out.
Me and Jeff have said it a couple times that the one thing about being a musician is you have to learn how to get up, and then you're gonna fall, and then you gotta learn how to get yourself back up, and you're gonna have to get up like 20, 30 times. So, and it's eventually you get to the point where you're like, you know what, fuck this. But that's it. There's never like a straight line. You're always up and down and up and down. There's days where you're like, you know what, I don't want to fucking do this no more. And then the next day you're like, I don't even know why I fucking said that. I'm like, I love it. It's a love-hate relationship.
It's a love-hate relationship with yourself.
Yeah, pretty much. Definitely is. A word from our sponsors.
The power of Sticker Jesus compels you. Full color, waterproof, and UV resistant decals printed for your art, business, club, or anything you want to promote. DM his assholiness on Instagram at Stuck Up Sticker Company, or email him at stuckupstickercompany@gmail.com to start your order today. Remember, Stuck Up is your source for signs, stickers, banners, and way more.
And here at the Jersey Shore Musicians Podcast, we like to tell people about the Stuck Up Sticker Company. And if you tell them that you heard about it here on the Jersey Shore Musicians Podcast, you will get 10% off your first order on anything. He does stickers, stage banners, covers for your amp. If you can print it, he can make it for you. All right, well, we're about to wrap up. I'm going to ask you guys, I want each of you to give me your answer on this. This is the same final question we ask every single person we bring in here. If there is one thing you could change about the Jersey Shore music scene, what would it be and why? And that's the same thing everybody else does.
We all stroke our beards.
Even the ones that don't have them.
Yep, even the ladies.
We've only had one guest that was just like instant they had it. Everybody else is like, wow, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
It is pretty tough.
It's
just one thing.
Mm-hmm. It's specifically a tough question just because it's like, gosh, how much can you change? And you get so used to certain things that it's like you wouldn't even think of changing it, but it's like, that's a thing that could change.
Yeah. Like we had one guy, he's a sound guy that came in and did it, and he's a recovering alcoholic. And his one thing he would change is he would like to see some more dry venues.
That would be nice.
That's...
I also would like that. That'd be great.
Yeah, we've...
That's one of the interesting ones that we've gotten so far.
Yeah, we've both had our struggles with that, so that's always a decent thing. For me, I think one thing that I'd really like would be like not just an original music place, because there's always going to be places that are like, oh, we only do original music, but like just an honest to goodness underground type venue of just like, here's the people that you're never going to hear on the radio, either because of their politics or because of how they choose to sound or anything like that. Like a true, like, either punk underground place for just stuff that people are like, you're not going to hear it in the mainstream ever.
There's a few of them here and there. I mean, the '90s were great for that. You never knew who was going to be playing, but you know if you went there on a Friday night, they were all going to be good bands.
Yeah.
You know, you probably never heard of any of them, but you knew you were in for a treat.
Yeah, I would like to see a few more places like that and have like the underground scene, you know, build up here a little more.
It's what I've always said too is there needs to be more venues that focus on this is good music and not we're making money.
Exactly, yeah.
But if you don't make money, you don't stay open. And a lot of the places that are like that or were like that, they don't last.
Yeah.
You know, because if you're booking bands and they're not pulling people, you're not paying your bills.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like I'd like to see it.
Oh yeah,
but I know
I
the
agree 100%.
feasibility
Yeah.
is just, you know, rough.
And you?
For me, I would say I'd like to have a few more like open venues where you can have more people get there and like interact with the bands playing. We don't really have a lot of those in our area anymore, where you can just get a group of people and just have fun, like have them jumping off of stages and stuff. Because I know like for a long time the Stone Pony got rid of like moshing and stuff. There was always like these rules you had to follow now.
Yeah, it's because people get hurt and sue people.
Yeah, make them sign waivers at the door.
Insurance is a lot of money.
Waivers at the door, that'll fix it.
I don't. It only covers so much.
I know.
No, I agree. I wish there was places like that, but in today's world, it's not feasible.
Yeah.
And if you did, you'd won a lawsuit and you're closing your doors.
Yeah, unfortunately with the local scene, that's pretty much a death sentence.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
But it'd be nice to have again.
We can hope. Like I said, there has been a very big resurgence of DIY kind of shows where people are just setting up and playing shows in VFW halls and fire halls and outdoor, finding places to rent in parks and it's working its way back.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. You might see me at a couple of those shows. Who knows?
Yeah, like I said, we played two over the past couple months and. It's great. Like it's right around the corner from my house, right in Lacey, and we'd literally bring the barbecue in the back of the truck. We'd be there all day. Like we'd be eating filet mignon and shit while we're going. Oh, time for our set. All right, let's go.
Yeah, there was a couple of shows where we would just like because I'm always the guy with the truck. I always carry either the drum set or the amps or a combination. Like I am the one who carries most of our equipment.
You are the U-Haul.
I am the U-Haul, just by virtue of I have a truck.
Yes.
And so there have definitely been a couple shows where we just were like, all right, we got all our stuff. We're early, or we don't go on right away. So we'll just sit outside and be like, we don't want to pay for drinks. We don't want to pay for food. Let's just hang out in the parking lot on my tailgate. Hang out, have a good time.
Couple beers.
Yeah. And then you just start your own little party in the parking lot. And eventually they're like, "Oh, hey, yeah, you guys are on in a band." And we're like, "Ah, crap, we got to run."
Yeah, me and my guys, useless. We always get there, watch every band, sit there and drink all night long. And that's a lot. It's a lost art in today's music scene. Everybody shows up, plays their set, and then leaves and takes their fans with them. No one wants to work together. There's not like, hey, bring your fans to see my band, and we'll keep our fans to see your band, and then they become all of our fans, and then we can just keep playing with all these other bands and keep doing it, and we'll just keep growing our audience. But no one understands that anymore. It's always me, 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 me.
Well, that is actually something that I have noticed a little bit, especially when we were starting. We played with enough people, and a good number of them were like, all right, stick around for the rest of the bands, and they would stick around for the rest of the night. And there were a couple of shows where anymore they're just like, hey, these guys left, played the first set and then left. We'll send them their money, but they're only getting the base amount. We made a little extra. Here you guys go.
Yeah.
You get more for sticking around and being part of the environment and the scene.
Yeah, my one story, I love telling it because it's funny. We were headlining at the Saint, and it was a Friday night. Place was fucking packed all night long, wall to wall people. We go up on stage, we start setting up. They pull the curtain back for us. Just the 25 people we brought. Not one other band, not nobody in the fucking bar. I was just like, motherfuckers.
They say the main event's the loneliest place.
Yeah, it is. It is. It sucks.
That's actually one of the things that I've like tried to think of, like a way of doing it, and one of the solutions, at least for me, is like I always listen to like people who we get show offers for beforehand, and I'm like, all right, will I like sitting here and listening to them after we've played, or until we play and all that stuff? And if it's a yes, then I'm like, cool. If it's a no, then it's like, all right, well, I'll still sit around anyways and listen to them. But it's one of those things where I'm like, people should just, well, I say should just, no, but like, one of the things you should do is try to book shows for people you like, so that you're going to stick around.
But people don't like, appreciate music the way they used to. People used to go see a show. Mm-hmm. Now people go see the band that they were coerced in from their friends to buy a ticket from, and it's like inconveniencing them. So they go see that one band so they don't look like an asshole, and then they go home.
Mm-hmm. See, I still think people should stick around because you never know what you're going to find. Like the last time we played at Dingbats, we were opening for a band called the Raskins, and I had never listened to them before, but they looked like an older, like, I want to say Motley Crue era type band.
Yeah.
They wound up borrowing our head units for our amps, and so we stuck around, and they put on a show that was killer. I never would have expected it.
Yeah, they put on a hell of a show, and because they borrowed our gear, their promoter was like, "Oh, hey, are you guys the guys we borrowed the equipment from?" I'm like, yeah, glad it's being put to good use. And he was like, "Yeah, here, let me, buy you guys a drink." And we were like, "Thanks, sure."
Yeah.
But it also kind of helped cement us at Dingbats as like, hey, these are good guys, like they'll work with other people and all that stuff. So it's just good. It's good to be good to other people.
Yeah.
That's just what it is.
I said it's the biggest thing is don't be a dick.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be a dick. Because I've been doing this for a long time. Like me and my band Useless, we're all, I'm the youngest one in the band, and I'm almost 40. And we've been doing this a long time. We've all been playing shows since the 90s. And we have a lot of a reputation. Like, a lot of people know us all over the place. It's because we're not dicks. We show up, we hang out, we never talk shit about anybody. And if we do, it's normally a joke. But and it's just don't be a dick. That's the best way to get somewhere. Is just don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Music's supposed to be a uniting force.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Like I said, when I was growing up, the music scene was like a community. And everybody would hang out, and all the different bands would hang out outside of shows. We'd go and do stupid shit. That doesn't happen anymore.
Unfortunately,
it's not. It's not what it was, but it's probably never will be again. It's always going to be something different.
Yeah.
I think at least part of that problem is like the amount of people who take videos of shows, and they're like, and lots of people are like, I can just see it later.
We've been talking about this one a lot, too. Let me get your feelings on this as a band. Let's say you're playing Dingbats, right? Mm-hmm. It's $20 to get in the door, right? You're playing with some band, $20 to get in the door. How would you feel if they also offered a $10 online ticket and you could live stream the show?
See, that...
I think it's brilliant.
It's a great idea, and I honestly wouldn't mind that, specifically because it's like...
But it means less people at the show.
Not necessarily.
It could, though.
Because for us, at least, as a group, we travel a lot, so our local fans can't make it out to all of our shows that they want to see us at. But this would then be like, all right, you guys have a chance to see us play with these huge names. Or
so that's the upside, but the downside is you're just going to get some people like, why am I going to drive all the way over there to go see and pay $20 to go see you guys when I can sit on my couch and pay $10 and see the same thing?
At the same time, there's the people who are going to want to be there for that feeling of being.
Yeah, but you still have a lot of people who are still kind of iffy on the whole COVID thing, and they don't want to be in mass groups of people. You know, it's just another outlet to make sure more people see your band.
Exactly, it would help with them seeing the shows because I know a lot of people have been saying, "Man, when are shows coming back?" Tell some of my coworkers at my full-time job, they keep asking me, "When are you playing a show? We want to come see shows."
Yeah, I'm actually playing tomorrow night.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we're playing down at the waterfront in Lacey. Us and a band called Dying Light.
Oh, cool.
Right at a big fancy restaurant right on the water.
Very
Bunch of metal bands.
I've been there, I think, once or twice.
So it's a really super nice place.
Oh,
You
absolutely.
just wouldn't expect. Like we play like a stoner rock, doom, sludge kind of thing, Caius in that vein, and we're loud. Like we're real loud. And when just us playing there, it just doesn't seem right, but it works. We played there like twice already, not once. And when we went over, great. I mean, they're all like, we're so louder, but it's kind of like, yeah. And we do this really killer cover of Ain't No Sunshine by Bill Withers. And as soon as we hit that, everybody's like, wow. They see a bunch of these big bearded dudes, and we're being all crazy with ourselves. And then we just launch into some Bill Withers, and they're like, oh, shit. These dudes are serious.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually one of the things that I've been always tried to do with our music is like never write just one specific style of stuff. It's just like, yeah, I want to surprise people. Surprising people is the best part about music.
Oh yeah, we got like slow Black Sabbath-y kind of stuff, some faster, more like technical kind of metal. We go back and forth. But it sucks for us around here because there's not a lot of bands that fit that genre in this area. So we normally end up playing with like punk rock shows, and then like we're like that one band that doesn't fit in. Or if we're playing like a Dingbats metal show, we're just not metal enough,
Yo, you have no idea.
Because we play like our riffs are super heavy, but I don't scream at all. I say I full voice singing the whole time, and it's like a lot of people. One of my biggest influences is Life of Agony, so that's exactly right where my realm is, and it just kind of takes that heaviness and just smooths it out a little bit.
Well, yeah, so for the longest time before we brought in Austin, he was on guitars as well as screaming. So a lot of our songs were mainly just me singing, and he would, do some backup screams.
Yeah, some accents.
And then we, switched guitar. I took his guitar for a song, and we had just one full scream song where I sing the chorus, and then he screams the rest of it. And then the rest of it was then back to me. And so it's one of those things where that was us for a while. And we played this one festival, which was just screaming metal band after screaming metal band after screaming metal band. And we were the first ones on for the night. And we were like, yeah, I felt like we did pretty good. And then we heard the rest of the band, and we're like, we don't match. We're not this group.
We don't fit in anywhere.
I'm glad we got cheers because this is not our crowd.
It happens. I mean, but you got to play it the same. You're still going to find, there's a good handful of people in those crowds that'll still dig you.
Yeah.
Maybe not as many as if you're on like the proper bill, but you'll still pick out a few.
Yeah.
We absolutely botched a cover during that specific show, and people were still saying, "Dude, I loved your cover of that song," and I'm like, "Why? It was bad."
You literally couldn't hear me playing the guitar for a certain while because the string broke.
Like 15 seconds into the song, the string broke during a lead.
And it's the heavy string. It's the bottom string.
Yeah.
So it's the main part of the song.
Yeah, the whole bottom end just falls right out.
And it was just like, oh, well, there goes that.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
No,
It's been a good time.
my pleasure. You guys were great, and I had a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Thank
same
you,
here.
Thank you very much. Tell everybody where they can find you, how they can get in touch with you,
Well, we are on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, YouTube, several other music listening platforms. We're probably on most of them. We even bothered to get ourselves on Shazam, if that's still a thing. So we're on there.
Hey, we're on Napster as well, which is a throwback.
Wow.
Napster is still a
Napster's
thing,
throwback.
people.
I thought that was a dead system.
While I was looking, I looked at all the places it was going to put us, and I saw Napster, and I'm like, really? Napster's still here?
Basically, you can find our music anywhere you find music, and you can find us on social media, like Instagram. I believe we have a Twitter. And we have
Yes, we
Facebook.
do have a Twitter.
Most
and
of
a
the handles
Facebook.
are usually SYKU official, or just look up on Facebook. Someday you'll know us.
Yep.
And you'll
Awesome.
find us.
And as usual, you can hit us up at jsmpinfo@gmail.com if you want to come on the podcast or just talk shit, tell us we suck, whatever. Or you can tell Jeff, get the fuck back here. I mean, what the fuck, dude? Seriously, no. I love him. He's my guy. He needed a break. He's got family things to take care of. It's all good. He still lets me use the place, so can't complain. Thanks again, guys. I really appreciate it.
Anytime.
Absolutely.
Bye.
It's because I slightly did. I tried to have a thought, and then it just went, nope. I was like, all right, fine. I see how today's going to go.